let's try something super strange for today. We're gonna make monkfish chips. Yes, we're gonna take the skin, we're gonna dry it and fry it and turn it into delicious chips. So first of all, we need to clean up the skin here, make sure there are no impurities on it. We're gonna use about 3 big slices of skin here, so we'll see how much that turns out to be in the end. I'm thinking we're also gonna make some delicious sauce to dip it in on the side. As you can see, there is gonna be some blubber here, as well as a little bit of membrane that I want to cut off the skin. Whew, that was a lot of effort. So I just cleaned them up a little bit extra here. And we're going to slice these into smaller pieces. So I found it easier to place them with the white side up, so the actual outside skin facing down. And I was just thinking as I was cutting this up, if everybody went through this much effort to make their own chips, I don't think we would have an obesity problem in the world at all. So let me slice this up. As you know, monkfish skin is pretty hard to slice through. Sharp knife is definitely going to be your best friend when doing this. And I decided to leave on these little skin flicks, or what we should say. I think they look kind of cool. Gonna give the chips that unique monkfish look. Cut these up into manageable chips pieces. All right, so we have all the slices laid out nicely here. I just turned on my oven as well to the lowest setting. Now, if you have a proper dryer, you could use that instead of the oven, of course. So the next step here is that we need to season these things. Now, I figured we would try a bunch of different spices, but let's try salt and pepper on all of them. So I'm just going to go over everything here with salt first. We're going to need to do both sides. In retrospect, I think I would actually use a little less salt than I did here, because they did turn out a little bit too salty. So perhaps half the salt here. It's always easier to add a little bit more. Also, I think I would add the other spices at the end of the process. So after we've dried them and deep fried them, I would add the other spices then. Because some of the spices got a little bit burned, or what I should say, in the oven. But that's just nitpicking, really. I'm thinking paprika. I'm gonna try some smoked paprika on some of them. And some garlic would be awesome. Garlic powder, that is. And lastly, I'm a huge chili guy, so I'm gonna sprinkle a lot of chili on some of them as well. I'm gonna take my rack here and I'm gonna transfer them over to this one while turning them around, so we kind of eliminate one moving, or what we should say. All right, so we have all of them on the tray here, and we're gonna pepper the pepper area. Salt and pepper, spices of Norway, taste of Norway. Next, let's get them into the oven. I have this little toaster oven that I'm going to use. Like that, and I'm turning it down to the lowest temperature possible for the oven. So I've turned it to about a little bit under 100 degrees Celsius. These are pretty wet, so I'm going to start at about 100 degrees Celsius, and then I'm going to turn it down to 65 after a few hours. We'll keep an eye on them. So I'm not going to close it entirely all the way. I'm going to leave it a tiny bit open here so that they can breathe. I'm thinking probably 4 to 6 hours this is going to take. So in the beginning of the drying process, the monkfish skin let out a lot of liquid. So I was afraid I would have to start emptying it all the time, but it was just in the first hour or so that it let out liquid. After that, they started drying up really quickly. All I really did was turn them around every once in a while. I checked on them about every half an hour to an hour and just kept an eye on them. And they grew smaller and smaller, and I started to get a little bit worried that I have cut too small pieces. But it turned out all right in the end. This is how I kind of jerry-rigged my thing here to let in a little bit of steam. But you can see they have shrunk up pretty much. But they're still a little bit soft to the touch. So I'm going to give it the full, at least another hour. We'll see if we're going to go the full 6 hours. But they definitely shrunk up. Let's wait for that. We're also going to make a very simple aioli dip that will go well with this. It's been 5 hours, and frankly, I am getting hungry. So we are going to move on now. Woo-hoo-hoo! And they are looking quite interesting. That's the word I'd use. There's not much left here. But we are going to go ahead and fry them up. So the next step is going to be that we need some oil, and we're going to add it to the pot, and we're going to heat it up. And while the oil is heating up, why don't we make some sauce? We're just going to make some simple aioli sauce. For that, we need about half a cup of olive oil. I'm just going to add it all here to this. We also need a teaspoon of lime, half a tablespoon of salt, and 4 cloves of garlic. So let's drop that in there, and we are going to go ahead and mix this all together now. So let's add that to a cup. So the moment of truth is here. We are going to go ahead and add our monkfish chips, or what we should say, into the pot there. They're pretty nice and stiff at this point. Not fully dehydrated, but pretty close. So we're gonna put them in there for 2 to 3 minutes. So I guess we just... Wow, I did not expect that. Those things are popping off. Oh, that's fun. Actually, it smells really good now. I was a little bit skeptical when I saw how they looked, but yeah. Alright, so I guess it's been just about 3 minutes now. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the heat here. And we are going to move these things over to our rack to run off some of that fat. Wow, that's really fascinating. So we're gonna let those cool down just a tad so I don't burn my tongue when we do a taste test. Of course, now I have no idea which has which tastes, so that's gonna be fun as well. Alright guys, moment of truth is here. Let's give it a try. Cheers. You know what? It tastes exactly like a fishy version of the pork skins. That's what it tastes like. Not bad at all. It was a lot of work. Oh, and that one had chili in it. Woo-hoo-hoo! A little bit too much salt, I think. You know what? I was afraid that this was going to turn into a failure. I was kind of down today and like, oh, maybe I have to make another video. But you know what? Totally acceptable. For something that strange to turn into something this delicious is what I would call a big win, actually. That's super cool. Yeah, I can recommend this. It was a lot of work to make for sure, but awesome. Tomorrow we're gonna make something a little bit more traditional, which is going to be oven-baked monkfish tail. Really looking forward to that one. Been some strange days recently with food-wise. If you want to see the recipe for this chips, by the way, I'm gonna put it together and add it in a recipe in the video description. Definitely check that out. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you tomorrow for the next one.